term on a 3-member commission. Today, it's District 3 up for grabs with incumbent Stu Nelson facing challenger Pedro Torres. We really appreciate you both for being here today. We're excited to get your answers. No opening statements, but some pre-selected questions from the League of Women Voters. So let's get to them, and let's talk energy sources for this first question, which is a good start. Number one, what sources do you think are the most important for providing energy here in Franklin County? Mr. Nelson, time is yours, sir.
Well, the dams, the nuclear plant, wind and solar are not all that important, as they're not, you can't bring it up right away as you need it. The dams, you can bring them up, bring them down, and the nuclear plant the same.
Would you care to elaborate? You have more time.
Well, that's the short version. We need more small nuclear sites, SMRs.
All right.
Yeah.
Mr. Nelson, thank you very much. Mr. Torres, same question to you about energy sources here in Franklin County, what you should prioritize.
Well, Mr. Stu Nelson is not wrong. He's correct. Our main source of energy does come from the dams, and we get at least 76, maybe a little bit more than that, % of our energy created by dams, which, as many of us know, they are a green, renewable energy, very safe to the environment. But as we also know, there is some agreements that we have made with the indigenous tribes, which means that at some point we have to do something to improve the fisheries, the salmon life in the environment. So that's one thing that we need to address. There's a push for other sources of energy, which I also agree would be great, but we need to focus on improving the technology for those. So there is, of course, the wind power, solar power, and as aforementioned, the SMR, small modular reactors. We need to work on the science. We need to work on the technology. I believe there needs to be a lot more investments if we want to make those viable transitions to be able to honor those treaties. I think that we need to do that, but we cannot do it too quickly. If we do it too quickly, we're looking at very, very, very high expensive costs to our electrical grid going up if we're not ready for that transition. We also have to remember, as we're wanting to be climate friendly, eco-friendly, the people that would be impacted the most by such a transition, that would be very, very costly. And those are the people that are, I'm speaking for my district in particular, District 3, that's Eastside, downtown Pasco, where a lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck, and they're not ready to take that big leap in the cost of energy when we make that transition. So those are our main sources of energy. Before we do any kind of transitions, I would advocate for more research in those before we can make any kind of a transition to not hurt our fellow people in the process of doing that.
All right, thank you, Mr. Torres. And we're going to go to you for question number 2 for the first one here. And this one really sort of the goals of the job. And in your words, how you would describe the job of a PUD commissioner. What are the major responsibilities of the office, Mr. Torres?
Well, as you know, I'm new to this, so I'm learning a lot. There are 3 primary responsibilities that I have seen and noted that are for this position. So the commissioners are in charge of setting the electrical rates, so we know what the cost of power is. They're also in charge of making decisions with how much and where we're going to invest in infrastructure to expand our power grid and the needs, because we are growing very fast. I believe that there's information that in the next 20 years, we're looking at about 20,000 people, 20,000 people growth in Pasco. That's just Pasco. We're not talking about the county at large. So that being in mind, we got to be very intentional with this complex thing. And the other part is to hire the general manager of the PUD. That's the person who runs and operates the entire operation, the staff, everything there. Those are the 3 main components. One thing that I don't believe was listed on there, and in my eyes is important, is we're supposed to be the voice to the constituents. We need to be going out there speaking to the residents, speaking to business owners and asking them what are their concerns, so that we can take those into consideration. I've been going to meetings for 18, 19, maybe 20 months now to learn about the position and see how things operate. And in that amount of time that I've been going, I haven't heard anybody talk about, while I was out there speaking to people, these are their concerns. They've been doing a great job of making the assumption they want to keep electrical costs low, and that's true. But there's other things as well that they want to talk about, and when you go out there and you talk to them, they will talk about other things. So those are the responsibilities in my eyes that are the primary ones, and the one that I want to improve on the most has been in outreach, reaching out there and informing and educating the constituents so that they can be a part of the conversation when we're making decisions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Torres. Mr. Nelson, same question, and here as we're in public media here doing this debate, it's nice to inform the public sometimes on what the job is all about.
We send out a newsletter each month with the bills. We advertise in the paper. The meetings are all advertised. When they are, anybody can come. We have a rate advisory committee that meets once or twice a year with all the different rate people, citizens, farms, businesses. They help us set our rates. We go through everything with them and get their approval. We had a rate increase 1st of May of 3%, the first one in 7 years since the pandemic. In our, for instance, transformers have gone up 300% in cost, and we've, got through it without having to raise our rates until just now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nelson. Let's move on to question number 3. And eventually I do want to talk about the costs of energy and what citizens can do. We'll throw another question in there. But for question 3, sort of a current event here, Franklin County PUD recently been sued over its at-large general election system that plaintiffs say unfairly dilutes the vote of Latino voters. The question is, what are your thoughts about the proposal to have the Franklin PUD go to a district-based election system that plaintiffs are saying will give the Latino community, which accounts for about 37% of the voting age people here in the county, a better chance of being represented by a member of their community? Mr. Nelson, your response.
They agreed to do that, which I don't think it's going to make that much difference. I mean, people have got to get out and vote. If they don't get out and vote, then they've got nothing to complain about. And if they don't get out and vote, they're not going to be counted. And I think our districts are set up pretty darn close to even. The 3 districts are just within a few hundred people of each district.
All right. Mr. Nelson, thank you very much. Any more to add on that?
No, not really, because it's all in litigation now.
All right, thank you very much. Yes, understanding that there is active litigation going on, but your perspective, Mr. Torres, same question.
Sure. So, Mr. Stuart Nelson is correct. People do need to get out and vote. The challenge with this, and I don't want to say this, and I want to say this also, it's not diluting just the Latino vote. It's diluting the vote of anybody in District 3, which means people in District 1 and District 2 can say, I want to see this person there. So I think it's important that the people who voice and say they want somebody in their district to be the representative, that's important. The last time there was a race that somebody ran against Mr. Stuart Nelson, she actually won the vote in the district, but because District 1 and 2 votes counted as well, that is why the majority vote went the other direction, and that's why the representative was chosen. I really wish they would have just followed the rules, because it was a law. They said that this is the way it's supposed to be done, and they didn't make the change, and it's unfortunate. I didn't advocate or push for that to happen, but I'm not against them doing it. I think that it's a fair thing to be doing. And I think that we all know that this is a nonpartisan position, because electricity, power, and the climate that's impacted by that is not a partisan issue. That's an everybody issue. And I just think it's important that the people in a community or area have their chance at having their vote not be diluted, so that they have their choice of representatives. So again, it's not just the Latino vote, it's all the people within that district that are impacted.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Torres. Our 4th question, just in priorities, pretty general question for your goals set out for, like we mentioned, this is a 6-year term, so a long-term position here. What do you think the biggest issue is on the priority list for the PUD for the next fiscal year? Mr. Torres, we'll let you start this one.
Great question. So inflation, cost, environment, there's a lot of things coming up, right? And our job is to do a responsible job of keeping the energy low, but being mindful of climate and all those other things. Besides trying to follow in the footsteps, which, by the way, the last 18 years has been an excellent job by Mr. Nelson of them keeping the prices down. Like he said, just in May, first time in 7 years that they have done a rate increase, and it was necessary. Cost of infrastructure, cost of everything is going up. That had to happen. So I would like to continue doing what they've been doing of maintaining the prices and the cost low. But the other thing I would like to do different, like I mentioned before, is become more involved and active with the community. I would like to utilize technology to turn these 60, 80 page stacks of information that have data, graphs, literature explaining all the processes and the considerations of how or why we might go this way or that way for energy, and make that into something that is understandable by the everyday person. We're elected into this position, so we have to make the time to make those good decisions. We have to read it front to back. An everyday person who has a full-time job, maybe 2 or 3 jobs and family, might not have a spare 4 to 6 hours to read these and then become involved in the conversation. If I can find a way to summarize those so it's something that they understand and they become educated, it might empower them to decide, oh, I think I would like to go to these meetings and voice my opinion or my thought on it. It might seem a little bit less scary for them. So informing, educating, and bringing them in to participate in this conversation, even though we might make decisions that they don't like, at least they'll know, have been informed, and understand why we're making those decisions, making it more of a partnership between elected officials and the community, so it's a joint decision and understanding.
All right, thank you, Mr. Torres. Mr. Nelson, same question to you as you seek another term. What's your priority over the next year on the commission?
Priority is to keep doing what we're doing, keep the rates low, and I am participant with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. In fact, they awarded me this year with the Amigo of the Year award because I go to all their meetings. I go to the Pasco Chamber. I'm on one of the boards for Energy Northwest, and I go to the Public Power Council meetings in Portland and the state PUD meetings. So I'm very active in what I do and what has to be done.
All right, Mr. Nelson, thank you very much. I'm actually going to add a question here. We'll reset the clocks at 1.5 minutes because I do want to talk about this cost mitigation, and obviously a lot of discussion among the both of you about the rate increase that had been the first in 7 years, the need to keep up with infrastructure, and we see the cost of everything going up these days. So, Mr. Nelson, I'd ask you sort of a long-term vision for cost mitigation for people in the PUD, and what advice you might have for them when it comes to saving on energy costs.
Well, we advertise, to turn your heat pumps down or your heaters down, your air conditioners down. There's programs that they can come in and get rebates on. Just word of mouth and advertising to keep the rates down. We are concerned with Bonneville Power. Bonneville Power sets their rates with transmission and the river. So we have to coincide with them, and they're not the easiest to deal with. They're spending millions, hundreds of millions of dollars on the fish issues, and that's been going on for 20 years. People are wanting to tear the dams down. One federal judge in the Ninth Circuit Court a few years ago said you don't have to tear the dams down, you just ditch around them. So it's just a constant battle with Bonneville Power.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Nelson. Mr. Torres, same question to you, just about cost mitigation. Long-term goals, plans, and strategies. As we mentioned, the first increase in 7 years, what can citizens expect when it comes to budgeting for energy in the future here?
Yeah. So we can definitely keep on doing what they've been doing. They send out newsletters giving tips and education on how to reduce the price of energy. Of course, continuing to inform them using more than one platform. They do good about sending letters at home, and they do have a social media presence, but I believe that increasing the usage of that, finding budgeting to put more into the social media so that there's more going in multiple platforms to educate people on different ways to mitigate energy costs. That would include sharing all these programs like the ones where they offered offsetting the cost of replacing windows at home to make their homes more energy efficient, sharing programs that help people that want to go the route of adding sun energy panels onto their homes. The little simple things like reminding people, if you have something plugged in that's not being used at home, unplug it. You'd be surprised the kind of energy drain that something that's plugged in and not running can do for you. I went to China for 3 months to study martial arts and train several years back. And when I was there, one of the things that they made sure these students did before they walked out of that room was unplug everything in the room to save energy. Simple little things like that. So if we can just continue to educate and inform them and illustrate the kind of a difference it makes, because oftentimes you can tell people something and they'll, hum and agree with it. But when we make an illustrated version of that so that they can see and we can quantify this is the kind of savings you can get from doing these things, that can incentivize people a little bit better.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Torres. Well, that addresses some longer-term visions here, but we do want to leave space to address anything that you think we left out or you'd like to add to this with some closing statements. We'll have 90 seconds for those as well. Mr. Torres, we'll start with you at the beginning here. The time is yours for a closing statement, sir.
Wow, I came unprepared with a closing statement. Can I look at his notes? Nope, nothing going to help me there. Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you to the League of Women Voters of Franklin County for hosting this for us, an opportunity for everybody to get to know us. So thank you for hosting us here. Secondly, for everybody that is considering coming out and voting, this is very important. It's an opportunity for you to practice what many people gave their life up for, to give us the opportunity to vote and have a say in who's going to represent us. So get out there and vote. Thirdly, Pedro's an incumbent. He's new. Yeah. And I'm going to come with some new perspectives, new ideas, and a lot of energy to get out there and meet people, talk to all of them, and see what is the issue. Get them involved, get them engaged. So I'm ready to hit the ground running, meet everybody, and bring some new ideas to the Franklin County PUD, and see if there's other ways that we can approach a lot of these complex challenges that we see coming up. And again, anybody that's out there that's young and thinks, how can I make any change? Any one of you out there can do this. You can. If I can do this, I have a migrant family background, showed up, not understanding any English here, learning the language, becoming involved, educated. You can be empowered to make a difference, whether it starts at a vote or learning about these things. And I want the young people to visualize themselves in positions like this where you can make a difference. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Torres, thank you very much. Mr. Nelson, 90 seconds for your closing statement, sir.
I'd like to be reelected again to continue what we've been doing. When I was first appointed to the PUD, it was a mess. We had a couple of commissioners that did nothing but fight each other, and PUD was in deep trouble. Right now, we're probably in the best financial condition we've been in years. And everything runs smooth. The commissioners all get along well together. We're all on the same page to try to keep the rates down. And we just work very hard at it. And I participate in these different meetings to learn and represent the PUD.
All right.
All right. And I'd like to know where he's 19 months. I've only seen you the last 6 or 7 meetings.
We should take a look at the notes.
We're going to.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you for answering our questions. We'll stop the conversation there, but we really do appreciate you both being here today. That does it with Pedro Torres, Stu Nelson, candidates for Franklin County Public Utility District 3 Commissioner. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
And one more thank you to all of our candidates